And gentlemen, I was getting hyped up before this live stream. I was watching some Rocky highlights. We are going to take this to the streets, hop in a real money fantasy football draft here, because I don't know if you know this about us by now, but I am addicted to fantasy football. I am addicted to hopping into these real money drafts. So we're going to do it every single day, all off season. There were about 4 spots open whenever we first joined this. Looks like this league is now filled. Come on, give us something good. Give us a good draft spot, even though I honestly don't think there's a bad draft spot this year. If you're talking about just the first few rounds being so balanced compared to what we've seen in previous seasons. So here we get the 103. So I'm perfectly fine at the 103. We have Golf for Life, a part of the flock out here. ETH Badger, I see in a ton of drafts. I was actually in a draft with him this morning as well. So hopefully we can make some plays. I like the 103 specifically because the players that you're going to have available to you at the 2-3 turn, I think you can get very excited about. And I don't think there's a massive difference between those players and then guys that you're going to be looking at, say, at pick 17, at pick 18. And of course, you still have access to grabbing a Christian McCaffrey, a Cooper Kupp, a Justin Jefferson, really whoever you want at 3. But let me go ahead. Let me pull up this live chat. Of course, thank you so much for anybody who's coming out with us. Oh, Fully Loaded is in this draft as well at the 101. Did not even see that. Fully Loaded, also a part of the flock. But thank you so much for anybody coming out to hang out with us. And you get Cooper Kupp at 1. Kupp was my plan at 3. We'll see. I guess we'll see us draft Justin Jefferson instead. Yes, we're going to take Justin Jefferson over Christian McCaffrey. In the $500 draft, I'm about, 3 rounds through. I actually took Christian McCaffrey at pick 4. Now, the reason we're taking Justin Jefferson at pick 3, everybody knows this by now, at least if you're in this live stream, you know this. It's because the running backs we're going to have available to us. I mean, the wide receivers that are going to be there at pick 22, hell, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill if you're lucky. Whereas at running back, you're guaranteed Leonard Fournette if you want Leonard Fournette. So yes, I'm going to pass on Christian McCaffrey in favor of Justin Jefferson at 3. And if you're playing in a different format that you're not going to have access to those elite level running backs available to you at the 2-3 turn, then maybe you do something different. But here, I've done almost 300 of these drafts at this point. So I think I have a very good idea of how this draft room is going to go. So Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry go 5, 6, and 7. And let me give a recap on that $500 draft that I'm about 3 rounds through. We took Christian McCaffrey at 4. I took Saquon Barkley at the 209. And then I grabbed A.J. Brown in the 3rd round as our wide receiver 1, just because we didn't want to get boxed out of the receiver position, even though it seemed like the majority of y'all wanted us to go with Josh Allen or Kyle Pitts. So we have a run on running backs happening here. Christian McCaffrey at 5, going all the way to Dalvin Cook at 9. Okay, so Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams. I'd imagine our next 2 selections, here's a guess. Next 2 selections, Kelsey, Evans. We're going to go Kelsey and Evans. I mean, that's been a common start since you had the Rob Gronkowski retirement. Okay, no, you have CeeDee Lamb at pick 12. We'll see what else this team does. Okay, so now let's see. Ryan says, yo, on ESPN, Juju was going at pick 76 and Sky Moore was going at 126. What do you think? My man, looking at ESPN ADP, it's complete garbage. I hate to say this. It's a bunch of 12-year-olds mock drafting. Hell, that's what I was doing all summer when I was 12. I was firing up Yahoo. I was firing up ESPN, and I was over there mock drafting. But the ADP you want to be looking at is this underdog ADP. There have been millions of dollars on underdog pumped into these drafts so far this offseason. So you know this is very efficient ADP. It's going to be the best ADP of anywhere you look. So if you see Juju Smith-Schuster going close to pick 50 here, and then him going at pick 80 on ESPN, if you see Sky Moore going close to pick 80 here, and then Sky Moore going at pick 130 on ESPN, I'm telling you right now, that ESPN ADP, it's garbage. You should probably lean in what we're seeing on Underdog. And real quick, if you, for whatever reason, are one of the few people left on planet Earth that are not drafting on Underdog Fantasy, that are not having as much fun as we are every single day, go fix your life. Go to the link in the description. Go to the link in the live chat. Go to the link in the comment section. go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. When you use promo code FLOCK, they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. On top of that, you're going to get our 2022 rankings, our dynasty rankings, our dynasty rookie rankings, yada, yada, yada. You'll support this channel, and you're going to get a 100% deposit match. So let's go ahead. Let's take Tyreek Hill here, pick 22. The reason we're going to take Tyreek is if you look at that tier of running backs that are going to be left for us, I think that we are probably going to end up with a Javonte Williams back at pick 27, Nick Chubb, pick 27, Kamara, pick 27. There's so many different running backs that we could look at, and that's going to be the last wide receiver available in that tier, in my opinion. I'm not necessarily going to throw T. Higgins. I'm not throwing Mike Williams into that same tier as Tyreek Hill. So I'll be fine taking Tyreek at pick 22. No real issues. Now, T. Higgins does go to fully loaded at pick 24. Interesting. The Jonathan Taylor team took Leonard Fournette over Higgins. Okay, so then fully loaded decides to grab Josh Allen, 25. Allen would have been in consideration for us. I don't know if we would have ended up going with Josh Allen. Maybe we want to do something a little bit unique here. Let's see what Texan Fan 181 does. This is the team that took Jonathan Taylor, Leonard Fournette. He goes Nick Chubb. Hell, let's get crazy. I titled this a crazy 2022 fantasy football draft. So let's make it crazy. Let's go A.J. Brown here at wide receiver. I don't want to say this is going to be a zero running back build, yada, yada, yada. No, I'm not saying that at all. But let's try to find running back value in the middle rounds. You know, on Underdog, Josh Jacobs goes round 6. David Montgomery goes round 5. We are able to find that running back value. I think we're going to be able to take advantage of it. So let's go ahead. Let's take A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown in a very bad situation. While I love Jalen Hurts from a fantasy football perspective, given the fact that I think Jalen Hurts could be the quarterback one overall this season with the elite offensive line play, with his rushing upside in particular, and now the upgraded offense with A.J. Brown coming over. A.J. Brown is that elite level talent. The only wide receiver that has been comparable to A.J. Brown on a yards per route run basis over the past 3 years has been Devontae Adams, where A.J. Brown over the past 3 years has averaged 2.7 yards per route run. We'll take him here at pick 27. This is what we did in our $500 draft as well. Kamara ends up going at pick 31. Kyle Pitts 30. James Conner 32. Ooh, this is going to be crazy. Golf for Life says, did you have a good 4th of July, Mason? I had a fantastic 4th of July. I really hope that y'all did as well. But yeah, went downtown. Austin does like a super cool fireworks show. Saw it last year. Went and watched it this year as well. So Cortland Sutton, Mike Williams makes it all the way to pick 34. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of where Mike Williams usually goes in these drafts. Usually Mike Williams goes before Josh Allen. He goes before Kyle Pitts. He goes before Kamara. He goes before James Conner in the majority of these drafts, which I personally can't get behind. I think Mike Williams as an early 3rd round pick over those other players is a little bit crazy. Here, pick 34, I'm going to be fine with it. This was the wide receiver 15 last year on a per game basis. So Hollywood Brown, DJ Moore goes at the 3-4 turn. Let's see what these teams in the middle here do. It does look like they're a little bit more running back heavy than what we've seen in previous drafts. Like they are taking these guys in round 1 a little bit ahead of ADP. They're also going to be taking James Conner ahead of ADP. But we will see. We'll see. Jalen Waddle goes 39. Y'all know we would have taken Waddle if he would have fallen for us. Kakashi says, hey, Mason, can I get a happy birthday for my guy, Arthur? Arthur, happy birthday, my man. Of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock. Hope you have a great birthday in general. But let's hope we had Deontay Johnson making it. Arthur, you gave us bad luck here, my man. I had 100% focus on this live draft that we were going to get Deontay Johnson falling to us. I look away for a second, and he goes. Darren Waller's gone. Oh, dear God. All our targets being picked off one by one. But this is why we decided to go draft A.J. Brown in the last round. If you look at the wide receivers that are available here to us at pick 46, the top 2 guys right now are Allen Robinson and Gabriel Davis. Allen Robinson had 1.2 yards per route run last year. Now, I understand it was a horrendous situation. I understand you had Matt Nagy, you had Justin Fields, but Darnell Mooney in that same exact situation averaged 1.8 yards per route run as a second-year player in Chicago. Okay, what do we want to do? Do we just go ahead and take Breece Hall? We'll take Breece Hall. Breece Hall, a running back that checks every single box that we're going to be looking at. Now, my issue with Hall, while I still think that he's a fantastic value here, y'all know I said he's a must-draft running back at the 4-5 turn, especially when you're getting him behind someone like Allen Robinson. If I had to pick an issue with him, it is going to be centered around the offense he's playing in. It's going to be centered around the fact that he is dealing with freaking Zach Wilson as his quarterback. But here, it's so hard for me to pass on Mahomes. I know Mahomes goes round 5 consistently now, and Mahomes is eventually going to be my most owned quarterback because I cannot stop taking him in here in round 5. The question is, do we just have to go ahead and take David Montgomery? We don't. I'm sorry. I see round 5 Patrick Mahomes. I draft round 5 Patrick Mahomes. I understand I need a running back. Yes, I really like this price point of David Montgomery as well. I mean, it's hilarious. My 2 most owned running backs at this point, or at least coming close to it, are going to be the combination of David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs this year. Guys that I used to argue were mainly overvalued, but now just the fact that Montgomery's going outside the first 4 rounds, going as a 5th round option, I personally think that's a fantastic value. This is the running back 7 on a points per game basis in 2020. Khalil Herbert literally has had his most carries in a game with David Montgomery active sitting at 4. 4 carries. He will have no role at all this upcoming season. I know it's a new coaching staff. Montgomery is going to have the 3-down role. I got to take Mahomes. We have to take Mahomes. Pick 51. And Nick coming out with a donation. My man, thank you for being a long-time member of the flock. Says, yo, long-time man, 12-man PPR Dynasty Superflex. Traded Kirk Cousins, Chris Godwin, and Nico Collins for Davis Mills, Mike Evans, and Rashad Bateman. What are your thoughts? Other quarterbacks are Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa. Personally, I don't like it. From a dynasty perspective, Chris Godwin's a lot younger than Mike Evans. Mike Evans drafted in 2014. Chris Godwin drafted in 2017. I personally have Cousins like 5 tiers ahead of Davis Mills. I understand that there's been some sentiment around the fantasy football community saying, you know what, Davis Mills may not be a bad quarterback. Davis Mills may be an above average NFL starter at some point in his NFL career. I've heard that take. I know it's a popular take at this point. What I would point to is the fact that if you go ahead and you look at what Las Vegas, where there is so much money being pumped into the system, it's going to be a very efficient market overall, where they are telling us we should be expecting Davis Mills. They have the Houston Texans over-under win total at 4.5 games this year. The lowest mark in the NFL. Las Vegas is predicting the Houston Texans are the worst team in the NFL. I'm not a fan of Davis Mills. I don't even think you would ever be able to start Davis Mills in a Superflex format even. So I am probably going to prefer Cousins Godwin, but I will admit Bateman's someone that I recently had to move up my dynasty rankings. Now, Jalen Hurts goes pick 60. Of course, I would have loved to have Jalen Hurts making it back to us. Maybe you make the argument, Mason, if you go David Montgomery, pick 51, that slides down Patrick Mahomes, maybe inherently slides down all those quarterbacks in that tier. Then you have a chance at getting Jalen Hurts and making it to you at pick 70. If I thought that was going to be the case, I would have gone ahead. I would have taken David Montgomery, praying that we had Jalen Hurts, just given the fact that, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, I would not be surprised if Jalen Hurts was the quarterback 1 overall this season. And we have A.J. Brown in this team, but it's highly unlikely that Jalen Hurts ever falls that far. Okay. So Brandon Cooks, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Russell Wilson off the board. Wilson was someone that over the past 3 years, I found myself overweight on Russell Wilson, mainly in Dynasty. But in a best ball context, I simply don't see Russell Wilson as a quarterback that has access to anything close to the ceiling as any of these other quarterbacks in this range, as a Kyler Murray, a Lamar Jackson, or a Jalen Hurts. I understand. Hell yeah, he can average more passing yards per game than all those guys. But Russell Wilson does not run the ball anymore. Russell Wilson's going to be a lot closer to someone like Matthew Stafford with his rushing production this upcoming season than he would be someone like Lamar Jackson. I think we almost have to just shift our mindset on what type of quarterback Russell Wilson is at this point of his NFL career, even if he's in a fantastic situation. Hell, so's Matthew Stafford. But Matthew Stafford's being pushed down, 3-4 more rounds? given the fact that he's not going to run the ball. Dak Prescott's being pushed down a couple more rounds, given the fact he's not going to run the ball anymore. I personally would prefer passing on Wilson here. But let's go ahead. Let's pull this up. And so far with this team, we have Patrick Mahomes, quarterback. Running back, we have Breece Hall. Wide receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and A.J. Brown. We have a massive run on quarterbacks. Thank God we took Patrick Mahomes. I think we made the right call there. And do we just go ahead and grab Amari Cooper at this pick? Obviously, Amari's been falling like a rock, given the fact that you are going to, you know what? I'm not going to take Amari. Let's take a running back that I haven't drafted very often at all. And I will admit, his price point's very obtainable. This is a running back that averaged exactly 100 total yards a game as a rookie. And now you're getting him at the very end of the 6th round, the very beginning of the 7th. I don't necessarily love the price point. I don't want to sit here and act like it's the best thing in the world to go ahead and grab Elijah Mitchell at pick 70. But at the same time, I do need to at least acknowledge the fact that I think there is a gap in tiers with Elijah Mitchell there compared to what we were going to see with Amari Cooper and the wide receivers on the way back around, whether that was Drake London or Adam Thielen. They're almost in the exact same tier. So at this point, now that we have Amari Cooper falling, I feel like might as well just go ahead, take Amari. Now I understand, yes, if Jacoby Brissett is indeed the starting quarterback this upcoming season, this Amari Cooper pick is probably going to be very bad. But we have talked about this at length when we are in these Best Ball Mania drafts on Underdog Fantasy. $25 buy-in. First place gets paid in this league. Second place gets paid in this league. But a small percentage of every single league pot is set aside for that playoff tournament at the very end. And everybody wants to say, oh, week 17 correlation. Let's make sure we get our bringbacks. Let's make sure we get our game stacks. What I think matters a lot more than that is just asking ourselves, hell, who has an elite ceiling in weeks 15, 16, 17? And if somehow, some way, Deshaun Watson only gets suspended 8 weeks, only gets suspended 10 weeks, only gets suspended 12 weeks. Now, I understand the median projection. If you had to make a bet, Deshaun Watson most likely misses all of the season. I understand that's the most likely outcome, but it's a $25 buy-in, $2 million to first. Should you be drafting for what's most likely, or should you be drafting for the top 5 percentile outcomes? I don't care if some of my teams are the worst teams you ever see, as long as I have a couple of them be the best teams that you ever see, specifically in that playoff stretch. So we have access to that elite level ceiling. So at the same time, we can go out there and we can hopefully get one finish that makes it all worth it. Okay. So Antonio Gibson, Miles Sanders. Antonio Gibson pick 77 is also intriguing. Let me know if y'all thought we should have gone Antonio Gibson there. Elijah Moore pick 80. This is going to be a massive fall according to his ADP. Allen Lazard 81. Allen Lazard here. I'm sorry. I know we need to be targeting wide receivers that play with very efficient quarterbacks. I understand it. Yes, I get it. I can't take Allen Lazard pick 81. I'm not going to have really any Allen Lazard this upcoming season, even when he goes a little bit later than this. Like, we've seen Allen Lazard over the past 3 years. I understand we can't necessarily look at his target share when you have Devontae Adams there, but I think it is fair to look at his yards per route run in at least comparison to some of the other wide receivers that were in Green Bay. And we can say, hell, Allen Lazard has been a pretty bad wide receiver so far his NFL career. And it makes sense as well because this is a wide receiver that has no pedigree whatsoever. So if you're telling me I can get Christian Watson a few rounds later, well, yes, there are definitely red flags in the Christian Watson prospect profile. But at the same time, he was a mega producer his final season there. I don't know who's spinning the false narrative, whatever the hell you want to call it, that Christian Watson wasn't productive in college. Christian Watson had over 40% of his receiving yards per game his final season there. Christian Watson was a mega producer. He was an elite level athlete, which I don't care about too much of the wide receiver position, but at least we can bring it up. I'm going to prefer Christian Watson rounds later compared to paying up for Allen Lazard, especially if we're looking for the elite ceilings weeks 15, 16, 17. Now we have TJ Hawkinson going pick 87. I would have really liked to have TJ Hawkinson falling to us at pick 94. Marquez Valdez-Scantling goes to pick 88. This is a team that I think if you look at this team really only cares about going out there and getting, I guess, that week 17 stack between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. They have Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Russell Wilson. They have Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And I guess they're also just targeting wide receivers that are in hyper-efficient offenses in terms of the quarterback play that they have. So you see them going out there. And if you just look at this, they have Aaron Rodgers, double stack here with Allen Lazard and Aaron Jones. They have Sutton, Judy, who should be playing with a hyper-efficient Russell Wilson this season. Same thing with Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So it's interesting. I don't necessarily like it, but you can easily see the thought process. Okay, so Christian Kirk off the board. Kareem Hunt off the board as well. Ooh, let's see what happens here. This is an interesting development. Okay, so this team has no quarterbacks. They have one tight end with Darren Waller. Their running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Antonio Gibson. The wide receivers are Michael Pittman Jr., Rashad Bateman, and Devonta Smith. Let's see what they do. They take Matthew Stafford. Interesting. I'm assuming fully loaded wanted Matthew Stafford coming back to him. He does have Josh Allen, so it's not like it's the end of the world. We're going to go ahead and take Treylon Burks. What is going on? Why is Treylon Burks falling? Do you really think Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is going to be the starting wide receiver in Tennessee? You really think that's going to be the case? You don't think it's a narrative? You don't think it's coach speak so they can pay respect to the veteran wide receiver who's been there for years? Give me Treylon Burks, wide receiver 5. Easy selection. Don't even need to think about it. Okay, but now Texan fan decides to go Sky Moore here. So fully loaded, only has one running back. The running back is A.J. Dillon. His tight ends, Dalton Schultz. Quarterback, as we already discussed, he has the elite Josh Allen. I'd be very surprised if he went quarterback here whenever the best options available are Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr. I mean, compared to the guys that are going to be available to him later on, I would be surprised if he went QB. He's going to go ahead and take Damian Harris, pick 96. I like our team so far. I understand it's not necessarily a conventional build. I don't really draft a lot of Elijah Mitchell. I don't draft a lot of Tyreek Hill. He goes Melvin Gordon. I like Melvin Gordon, the target. Here, it's just different to see Melvin Gordon go over Cordell Patterson, at least compared to what we're used to. And Texan fan, back on the clock. Herbert at quarterback, running back Taylor, Fournette, Nick Chubb, wide receiver London, Adam Thielen, Lockett, and George Kittle at tight end. I've been grinding my butt off. He goes Sky Moore. Crap. Obviously, we wanted Sky Moore here. Do we go ahead and just take Dallas Goddard? If we look at Dallas Goddard from a yards per route run standpoint, another hyper-efficient player. It is funny for us to go almost all in on this single offense in Philadelphia with a combination of A.J. Brown and Dallas Goddard. Let's do it. I mean, if you look at the efficiency for Goddard, whether it's on a per route run basis, on a per snap basis, Dallas Goddard's been one of the most efficient tight ends in the NFL over the past few seasons, very similar to what we had with Mark Andrews over the past 3 years, and Mark Andrews at the beginning of his career in particular. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Dallas Goddard all of a sudden is going to turn into Mark Andrews this upcoming season, but I do think that he is an elite level talent. We have somewhat a correlation here with A.J. Brown in this same team. Now, of course, what we wanted Sky Moore. We wanted Sky Moore so we could get that stacked in with Patrick Mahomes. But if I see Treylon Burks available, pick 94, I'm sorry. I'm greedy. I have to go out there. I have to try to get both guys. I have to try to get both guys. But as I was saying earlier, I've been grinding away on this draft guide. So if you've pre-ordered our 2022 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, I know I said it was going to be available at the beginning of August. I lied to you. I'm going to try to get this out next week. Now, we are over 200 pages in on this draft guide, and the end does not look like it's in sight, but I spent almost like 12 hours today on it. We are just going to continue to grind through this, and there's so much valuable information. But what's really nice is now that I've put all this here, it's very easy for me to go make a video, talk about a player. If I want to talk about Dallas Goddard, I can just hit Control F. I can now find Dallas Goddard's name in our draft guide real quick, and I can tell you that Dallas Goddard was a tight end that last year had 2.6 yards per route run. Dallas Goddard had a target share at 17.5%. He has back-to-back finishes as a top 10 tight end on a points per game basis. Now, yes, the targets per game were down last year from about 5.9 in 2020 to about 5.1 this past season, but that's because the overall passing efficiency in Philadelphia was down. I think that if somehow, some way, the Philadelphia Eagles surprise everyone, they push the pace of play, they go out there and they really just somehow, some way turn into an above average passing offense when it comes to the volume that they have, and is condensed between 3 players and 3 players alone. Maybe you have a Devontae Smith injury and that's how this team gets you. I don't know. We're obviously doing some mental gymnastics. I do like the value of Dallas Goddard pick 99, especially when it means that we may only have to draft 2 tight ends with this build. Okay. So if y'all have not done so already, you know what I have to ask from you. Please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. We have over 300 people watching, and we just hit 100 likes in this live stream. Why are we not at 250? Why are we not at 300 likes? What the hell is going on? Come on, everyone. Okay. Okay, so James Cook, Michael Gallup, 108, 109. Obviously, I would have loved to have James Cook fall to us. I mean, James Cook, a running back that should be the primary passing down running back in the league's best passing offense. And on top of that, you're looking at James Cook as a running back that is upside for more if somehow he can grab that job away from Devin Singletary. But we have Tyler Boyd, 112. Cousins off the board. I don't want to say hurts, but Cousins would have been intriguing considering the fact that we had Jefferson, and obviously we're only going to be taking 2 quarterbacks here. Okay, so Iller Miller on the clock. They have Kyler at quarterback, a running back, Najee, Connor, Akers, Pollard, receiver, Evans, Hopkins. They go Zach Ertz, 113. Interesting to see them take Zach Ertz over Dawson Knox. Y'all know I'm not a massive fan of Dawson Knox. We've talked about some serious touchdown regression happening with Dawson Knox in particular. But still, I feel like if you're just looking at ADP and ADP there alone, Knox maybe has an argument. So this team on the clock only has 2 receivers. Their 2 wide receivers are Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin. However, I wonder if this is going to be a team that tries to load up on a total of 10 of those guys because they have 2 elite level quarterbacks. They have the elite level tight end as well. Okay, Christian Watson, 116. Coco Palmer. Has this draft? No, this seems to be a standard draft. Really, the only crazy pick they made is they decided to go ahead and draft Keenan Allen, pick 21. They go Derek Carr. Let me know if something happened. We're going to go Dawson Knox. We're only going to draft 2 tight ends. Yes, they have the same bye. Who the hell cares? We're playing for weeks 15, 16, 17. Okay. We are going to go ahead, take Dawson Knox. Nobody in the chat is telling me something happened. I think Dawson Knox is in line for some serious touchdown regression. At his ADP, I'm not a big fan of Dawson Knox. But if we're going to get him 16 picks behind ADP, if it's going to allow us to only draft 2 tight ends with this build, I'm completely fine with it. The other wide receivers available here, I'm not too interested in because we almost have to draft McCole Hardman at pick 123 when we have Mahomes and we whiffed on the combination of Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Sky Moore. So we're essentially locked into McCole Hardman. Good for us to see Freiermuth off the board whenever we already have our 2 guys with Dawson Knox and Dallas Goddard. Okay, so fully loaded on the clock. I'm sure that he's upset with us. He ended up drafting Josh Allen back at the 2-3 turn, so I'm assuming that he wanted to have Dawson Knox fall into him. I'm sorry, of course. We had to take that value. Okay, so this team on the clock, yet again, Texan fan. And we only have 2 running backs with a combination of Breece Hall and Elijah Mitchell, but this is going to be a team where we draft 6 of them. Whenever we only have to take 2 quarterbacks because we took Patrick Mahomes and we only have to take 2 tight ends because we have Dallas Goddard and Dawson Knox, we have a very strong wide receiver core as well. I am comfortable drafting 6 running backs whenever our first guy off the board was Breece Hall. So let me recap our draft so far. This has been a pretty crazy draft in terms of looking at our usual strategy compared to this one. We took 3 wide receivers out the gate with Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown. At running back, we have the combination of Breece Hall and Elijah Mitchell. Later on at receiver, we brought in Amari Cooper, Treylon Burks, McCole Hardman. Obviously, we have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And we have the combination of Dallas Goddard and Dawson Knox at tight end. Interesting. So hopefully at this point, what we're hoping for is we need some tight ends off the board. Let's get some tight ends off the board. Let's get some wide receivers. Let's get some running backs in particular falling down to us. We definitely need to find some running back value on the way back around. Matthew asks, How many Best Ball Mania drafts have you done so far? I think this is 131, 132. Something along those lines. I am about to max out Best Ball Mania. Yes and no, everybody wants to talk about the barbell strategy where you want to get some of your drafts in right when the contest opens, when you want to get some of your drafts in right when it ends. I want to get my drafts in before we see the most change in ADP, when there is the most uncertainty, because yes, on average, our teams are going to score lower, but I'm not trying to have the highest average team. I'm not trying to go out there and draft for the highest median projection. We always talk about this. If you were in that best ball tournament with a $25 buy-in and $2 million to first, what should we be doing? We should be going out there and drafting for super teams. Embrace the volatility. Welcome the volatility. Even if it means you're going to strike out, we're trying to hit home runs. Strike out or hit a home run here if you're in a tournament. Whenever we get those private drafts going, we'll be firing up a lot of private drafts with y'all as well, because I'm about to max out Best Ball Mania. So the drafts we'll do on the live stream are just regular 12-team private drafts. There you'll see my draft strategy is going to be a lot different. Am I ever going to be drafting Godwin? No. Am I going to be drafting Kamara? No. Am I going to be drafting Watson? No, of course not. But it's just a completely different strategy. Okay, so after this, we have Jamison Crowder, Mike Gesicki go off at the 11-12 turn. Good for us. Get these tight ends off the board. Michael Carter Jr. pick a 134. I would have liked to have Michael Carter Jr. fall to us, even though we have Breece Hall, because I do think it is an intriguing thought process to do some mental gymnastics and to think about the fact that maybe handcuffing a running back here in the best ball tournament could create a unique player with a spike week at the very end of the season. Just a possibility. Like I said, of course, not likely or anything. But let's pull this back around. So there's only going to be one running back that can really make it back to us at this point. I'm not going to reach on Tyler Algier. Robert Tonyan off the board. Good. Come on. Please get these tight ends off. We don't want to see these tight ends. Come on. Eth Badger on. Eth Badger, I believe we saw him in our draft this morning. He went ahead. He has the double stack with Godwin and Russell Gage. I actually don't mind the idea of getting the double stack with Godwin and Russell Gage because, yes, you are going to be maybe making a selection with Russell Gage that has in my opinion, the worst combination of things you could look for in a best ball tournament like this. He'll have a higher advance rate than most players, which of course you would love, but he's going to have high ownership in that playoff tournament at the very end, and a lower ceiling than anybody there. So I personally would prefer avoiding players like that and going for the exact opposite. I'd prefer to go for the players that you're going to see have lower advance rates in that elite level ceiling for the last 3 weeks, like Chris Godwin. But if you draft Gage and Godwin together, maybe that's how you can sneak a Godwin team through for weeks 15, 16, and 17, where if he has a spike week during that time, you can benefit in massive way. And here, Justin Fields falls 20 picks in ADP. No, we don't have a Justin Fields stack available to us. Do I care? No, I don't care. He falls 20 picks behind his ADP, and this is a quarterback that you're not drafting him for his passing volume. You're drafting Justin Fields for one reason and one reason alone: the rushing upside. Horrible offensive line, horrible offense in general. But if he can go out there and have a random spike week where he gets 60 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, hell, he can hit our lineup. And if that can happen in a tournament, it's easy to grab Byron Pringle in the last round. It's easy to grab Velus Jones Jr. in the last round. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson will be a player that falls in ADP after you had the Terry McLaurin signing, because, of course, some of the ADP for Jahan Dotson, not all of it, was based on the contingency value that if somehow, some way, of course, it was unlikely, but it was in the range of outcomes, that Terry McLaurin and Washington didn't get a deal together and they ended up moving on from Terry McLaurin. Unlikely, but it was in the range of outcomes. That's why I'm not necessarily expecting Dotson to fall a ton, but I do think he is going to have a small little slide here. I think that he's still going to be an easy selection at 147. And based on some of this wide receiver value that we've had later on, I would definitely say if I could go back in a time machine, if I could change something here, I think the number one pick that we would look to change would either be, maybe you can make the argument, our third round selection where we went AJ Brown. Maybe we change that to Javonte Williams. Maybe you go back to where we took Amari Cooper and change that to Antonio Gibson. I think those would be one of our changes, but not expecting to get this value of Jahan Dotson First round wide receiver, 45% dominator rating at Penn State. The final 2 years there, yes, he wasn't productive as a freshman, wasn't productive as a sophomore, but he had KJ Hamler at Penn State during that time. He had Albert O at Penn State during that time. So it's understandable why you wouldn't expect someone that's 18 years old to be a mega producer in that context. If I'm getting that player after Joshua Palmer, after Corey Davis, after Van Jefferson, after Devontae Parker, after Myers, I'm going to take that player. Okay. So Algier, Kenneth Gainwell go off the board, 151, 152. One of my favorite running backs in this range of the draft is going to be Kenneth Gainwell. I really do like this price point on Gainwell. DJ Chark goes pick 153. And at this point, we also want wide receivers going. We just need running backs falling. We only have 2 running backs. Those running backs are Breece Hall and Elijah Mitchell. Our running back position is bad. Okay. So, see some people asking for us to get another draft going. I told my girlfriend she could come over tonight, but you know I'm addicted to these drafts. So if we get another draft going, it's not going to be a Basketball Mania draft. It'll just be a regular private draft held only for people in this live stream. And what I would do is I'd just send out that link in the live chat for y'all to join. But how about this? We've had over 1,200 views in this live stream. This live stream will probably end up getting 1,500 views before the stream's over. If we have 250 likes, I'm no mathematician, but what? That's like 12.5% of people going down there dropping a like. 250 likes in the live stream. We'll go ahead and get another draft going. Riley says, finally haven't been able to make it out to the stream in a minute. Still loving all the content. Missy Mason, thank you, my man, for coming out. Thank you. I truly do appreciate it. And let's try to figure out where we're going after this. Because running back's about to be brutal. We can't take a quarterback. We have Mahomes and Fields. We can't take a tight end. I mean, maybe we could take a tight end later on. We may end up having to make this a very, very unique team. This may be a 7 running back build. How many more rounds do we have? 15, 16, 17, 18, 4? No, we have 5 rounds. You can build a 2, 6, 8, 2. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, 5 rounds. We may finish this draft off with 5 running backs in a row. God, this is going to be a crazy draft. Hopefully we have some value making it to us. Alec Pierce goes 162. Good for us. Darrell Williams goes. Darrell Williams was 100% the running back that we were wanting. There's some tight end value here, but I feel like it's so thin for us to take a tight end. Like we took Goddard and Knox on the same team. James Robinson goes. We are just dead at running back. I honestly don't even think it matters. I think we have to go running back regardless. Did a single team, looks like just everybody here has already 5 running backs. Marlon Mack off the board. From an expected point standpoint, I guess I lied to everyone here. I didn't expect a draft go like this. Do we take Everett as our 3rd tight end? Pray to God that somehow, some way, Breece Hall and Elijah Mitchell turn into league-winning running backs this year. We're going to go Everett. Now we are truly only drafting running back. But I know fully loaded probably can't draft another running back here when they already have 5. I'd be surprised if they draft another running back here when they only have 1 quarterback, 1 tight end. So I think this running back pool that we're going to be choosing from is going to be the exact same at pick 171 as it was 166. Tight end's not going to be that case. Daniel Jones goes at 168. God, this is a crazy team. Fully loaded goes Daniel Jones as his quarterback 2. What other players are available here? He goes David Njoku, 169. I think we probably made the right call if you're looking at Everett and the offense that he's going to be playing in. Because the thing is, you take a 3rd tight end as well, they can hit your flex spot throughout the course of the season. Why would Coco Palmer take Marlon Mack? I guess actually somewhat makes sense. You only have 5 wide receivers, though. But those wide receivers are pretty good. McKissick off the board. We're going to go ahead. Let me know. Do y'all want Jamal Williams or Mark Ingram? I know most people here would prefer Mark Ingram over Jamal Williams. My issue is, like I'm always saying, I'm not playing for just total points in a season. That's not what I'm trying to get. I'm not trying to get just a 1% edge on our advance rate compared to other people. I'm trying to find players that have access to a ceiling at the very end of the season. I would say Mark Ingram's more likely to outscore Mark Ingram's more likely to outscore Jamal Williams than vice versa. It's just that in terms of looking at that 3-week stretch, maybe I'm ignorant to assume this, but I would assume in weeks 15, 16, 17, Jamal Williams is going to have that higher ceiling, given the fact that you were looking at Jamal Williams as a running back that has it in the range of outcomes. He has the skill set, not great at it, but he can do it. He can catch passes. Mark Ingram's not going to be a pass catcher. Sean Payton's not there. We don't even know if Mark Ingram's the second running back on that depth chart. We know Jamal Williams is the second running back in Detroit. We kind of need to be selecting for a floor case throughout the season as well. So we'll go Jamal Williams. It's thin. I think if you want to make the argument for Mark Ingram, you do you. I think we are not really going to see too many running backs drafted between our picks because everybody already has 5-6 running backs. That's why we are put in such a difficult spot at pick 166. Okay, so Jared Goff goes 178. Good for us. Get these quarterbacks off the board. What are we doing here? And I will say, for anybody who thinks that Swift is a value, Hawkinson's a value, Jameson Williams is a value, DJ Chark's a value, Amon-Ra St. Brown's a value, how the hell does Jared Goff go this late? Like, I'm not necessarily of the opinion all those players are values. I know it's a popular thing to say that the Detroit Lions are going to be better this year than people expect. Yes, they have a great offensive line. They have great weapons, but it's Detroit. It's Jared Goff. I think Goff is probably the best value on the Detroit Lions, if we're going to be honest. Let me look up my ownership with these Detroit Lions players, and it is going to be brutal in terms of my ownership on Swift this year. Because DeAndre Swift was one of my most owned players last season. And this year, I haven't drafted Swift at all. I have Swift in 3% of leagues. I have Jameson Williams in 6% of leagues. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown in line. I have him at 9. I think I have Chark in it. Yeah, I have Chark at 9% as well. Hawkinson, I have in 9%. So I'm in line with those three players. But the talented players, the young, exciting players in Jameson Williams and DeAndre Swift, I'm going to be off of compared to consensus this season. I'll admit they're elite level talents. I spent all last season trying to convince people to draft DeAndre Swift when he was going round 3, round 4. Just this price point this year, whenever he can't, in my opinion, he's not going to get to that elite level target share given the actual weapons that they now have in Detroit compared to where they were at last year. I don't think he's going to get back to, I thought he could get to 20% of his team's targets. I thought that was in the range of outcomes. Last year, he was at about 17% for his team target share. I think that actually comes down given the weapons that you have in Detroit this season. Okay, so 2 steps on the clock. They only have one tight end. It would be very good for us if they took Evan Ingram. Good, they take Ingram. This team can't take running back. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Jerick McKinnon. We need to take McKinnon. We need to try to get some correlation in here with Mahomes. We have McCole Hardman, but McCole Hardman's not getting done. Like, if Patrick Mahomes is a player that is winning fantasy football leagues, you better believe that Sky Moore is. You better believe that at least Juju Smith-Schuster is, that Kelsey, one of those players is, probably not just McCole Hardman. So we will go ahead. We'll take Jerick McKinnon somehow, some way. Just try to backdoor some correlation. This is about the grossest running back room that you are ever going to see. We're going to bring in another rookie with Brian Robinson Jr. here, someone that was selected in the top 100 picks in the NFL draft, someone that, yes, stayed so freaking long at Alabama, but it makes sense because if you go through and look at the running backs that Brian Robinson has played with at Alabama through his career there, he played with Josh Jacobs. He played with Damian Harris. He played with Najee Harris. He finally got his chance to start this past season. He looked pretty damn good when he did it. It's not like he was very unathletic at the NFL Combine. He has size. He's an adequate pass catcher. Of course, he's parked behind Antonio Gibson, but you're getting him here in the 17th. Okay? I think it's baked into his price. Okay. So Nico Collins goes pick 198. And like I said, guys, if we get 250 likes in the live stream, we are going to go ahead, fire up another draft after this one. That one will be a private draft. I'm going to send that link out in the live chat. You'll see it say like $10 draft here. If you want to just join the private draft, I want to save those Best Ball Mania drafts. I don't have that many left. I probably need to just start doing private drafts on the live stream so y'all can get in. And also I can save those Best Ball Mania drafts for whenever I'm at the gym. Okay, so Devin Duvernay goes pick 200. At this point, there are a couple of running backs I have in mind at pick 214. Matt Breida, I love that selection. In terms of handcuff running backs that are simply not getting picked in Best Ball Mania, that are going to be at a very low ownership, that can catch passes, he checks a lot of boxes. Matt Breida definitely checks a lot of boxes. Zamir White off the board. I'm not going to be drafting Zamir White that often. I understand. Yes, he was a running back that is athletic, pretty fast, but he's undersized. He's a BMI of 29.0. He cannot catch passes. He's an undersized first and second down grinder. If Jacobs were to go down, he is still in a committee with Kenyon Drake. And we don't even know what the split's going to be there. Okay, so Sony Michel goes pick 204. Interesting to see Carson Wentz, Davis Mills. Like, if I wasn't so desperate at running back, I'd be convincing myself into Watson here. You know. Steve the Weave says, Mason, one more guy you should take on this build is Kenyon Drake. So right after we're going through talking down on Zamir White, just flip on the other end, take Kenyon Drake. I don't think that's too bad of an idea, considering the fact that Drake can have a receiving role. But yeah, I 100% agree. We need a running back. I'll say that. We 100% need a running back. Let me recap this draft for everybody here. We have Mahomes, Justin Fields at quarterback. Running back, we have the grossest room you will ever see. Breece Hall, Elijah Mitchell, Jamal Williams, Jerick McKinnon, Brian Robinson. Receiver, we're elite. Receiver, we are sitting pretty. We have Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, and Jahan Dotson. Treylon Burks as well. I don't know if I said Treylon Burks. Tight end, we have Dallas Goddard, Dawson Knox, and Gerald Everett. So we're pretty damn good at tight end as well. It's just this running back room is atrocious. Okay. So 2 steps on the clock. They only have 4 RBs. They're running back CMC, Barkley, Gibson, and James Robinson. Interesting team here. Interesting team. Who do they end up? They take Carson Wentz. Was that an actual auto draft? I mean, if I were them, I'm taking Donta Foreman here, no question, right? Like, if we get Donta Foreman, I love this draft. If we get Foreman, I think this is a fantastic draft. And it looks like we may not be getting to 250 likes, so it may be our last draft of the night here. But let's queue up Donta Foreman. We'll wait about 2 minutes to see if we end up getting that. But if not, no big deal, because I got great news for everybody here. I went down, did some investigative journalism today. I think that's what it's called. Asked around town, and the news is we are going to have a live draft tomorrow night. We are going to have a live draft the night after that. And if my sources are correct, if my sources are accurate, we are going to have a live draft after that one as well. We are going to have live real money fantasy football drafts every single night for the entire offseason. So make sure you go down there, subscribe. Make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. By far and away, the best place to draft your fantasy football drafts. It's how we're able to do this every single day. Thank you again. I truly do appreciate all of y'all. I really hope you have a great day. I really hope we get to see you in one of those live drafts tomorrow night. And yeah, I promise you I appreciate you.